What if you started treating your life like a project? Something you could design, test, and improve over time. We do this naturally in our work and in coding and problem solving. So why can't we apply this same approach to our personal lives? Today, I want to talk about what we can learn from these software engineering principles and how we can apply them to our own lives to fix what's not working, to identify these issues, and to help us achieve our goals faster. Hey, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Becca. I'm a full-time software engineer, part-time Pilates instructor, and someone with multiple interests and multiple different passions. I love sharing bits of my life, insights into my career, and everything in between. So if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. But let's get straight into the video. So in software engineering, when finding bugs or errors in the code, we want to trace that issue back and find out where this issue is coming from. And that's because we can't fix it unless we know what's causing it. If we just cover it up with a quick fix or temporary solution, it will usually come back further down the line, just at a much larger scale. So what we usually do as software engineers is we try and replicate that issue in kind of a controlled environment to then really trace everything backwards so that we can find the root cause. And it's only once we know this can we go out with a plan to find a solution. And in life, it's exactly the same. We don't want to just cover up the symptoms. We want to uncover what's underneath them to find that root cause. So often that when we feel things are off, we tend to just try and fix it by placing things on top. We set extra goals, we work harder, we kind of amplify everything and double down on everything without kind of figuring out why we feel how we feel underneath. So maybe we try and set loads of new goals and try and change everything all at once without really understanding the root cause of everything. So maybe you're trying to do too much at once, or maybe you've outgrown a habit that is no longer serving you. And if you're feeling burnt out, for example, maybe taking one day off work or a couple days off work might help a little bit. It might help you reset and come back to work feeling a little bit refreshed. But that feeling doesn't last long. If you go back to the same routines and the same habits that got you in that position, the same thing will happen again. And that's because the problem isn't that you just need rest. The problem is that you have a bug in your system. So maybe the way that you've set up your schedule or your habits or your daily routines just isn't working for you. And you need to find a way to kind of restructure all of that. So to really recover from this burnout, in this case, you need to really assess all of your routines and all of your habits that got you into that position, and then kind of readjust your whole system, maybe do some kind of refactoring through your life. And this will help you figure out the root cause and then come to that solution to hopefully stop it reoccurring in the future. In software engineering, once we know there's an issue, the next step is to check the logs. So the logs tell us what actually happened rather than what we think happened. They tell us the patterns, the sequences, the timestamps of everything that went wrong so that we can really understand why these things happened. So similarly, in our own lives, when we feel stuck or unmotivated or burnt out, or we're not achieving the goals we've set out to achieve, it's a good idea to, instead of focusing on emotions and those feelings, we look at the actual data and our own logs. So you want to keep your own record and your own logs on your own journey. So this could be things such as tracking your sleep, tracking your energy levels or your nutrition, or the hours you're putting into things, maybe tracking your screen time. So if we have clear logging systems in place, it enables you to have good observability over your whole life and I guess over your individual different systems. So the next principle leads on from these logs, and it's about making data-driven decisions. In the professional environment, every decision, every backlog prioritization, every proposed solution is backed up by evidence. We look at metrics, error rates, user behavior, and all of these objective things, objective sets of data to help us make these decisions and help us make informed choices. And that's exactly how we should approach our lives too. Instead of guessing everything, we can take out that guesswork by using our own data. So we can use that real data from our previous logs to help us figure out what would help us achieve our goals faster, what would help us be more productive, more healthy, our mood to feel better. All of these things, we now have the evidence, the data, instead of taking a guess in the dark. Now, I'm a big believer in trusting the gut and following your gut instinct and noticing how your body feels. But I also love numbers, love facts, love science and data and spreadsheets and all of that stuff. So I think both can be used. It's not kind of a one or the other, but it's finding the combination that works for you. Because when you actually look into the data, it can help you realize why you're not achieving the goals that you set out. So for example, maybe you think you're saving loads of money and you have this savings goal that you're really far off. And then when you look at your credit card statements, you realize where all your money is going. You realize you're spending a lot on food and coffee out. Or maybe you have goals to get a promotion and be really productive at work. But when you look at your screen time, you're finding that you're spending loads of time scrolling. Or maybe you have fitness goals, but when you look at your data, you're realizing you're not adding progressive overload, or you're not putting the hours in to achieve what you want to achieve. So once we have this data, we can take it and analyze it, and then we can figure out the mismatch. And from there, we can figure out how we're going to restructure our daily routines, how we're going to adapt and change our habits, and how we're going to now set up and kind of align your goals with your daily routines and with your habits to make it much easier to achieve your goals. In software engineering, when we face a huge problem, we don't try and tackle it all at once. We divide and conquer. So we break it down into smaller, manageable chunks. We divide it into epics, stories, and subtasks. So epics are your large problem. Your stories are a smaller subset of that large problem. And your subtasks are the individual actions that make up that story. And by breaking it up this way, it's so much easier to tackle the problem because it is now in these smaller chunks that seem a lot more manageable and a lot more doable. And in life, it's the same. So if you have these big goals, it can sometimes feel very overwhelming and very scary if you just look at that end goal without even thinking about how you're going to get there and the smaller steps that lead to that big goal. So think of your epic as that big goal that you want. So maybe it's improving your fitness and your health, or maybe it's completing a personal project. Then from there, we can break that into stories. So thinking about creating a meal plan or a fitness routine or journaling. And then from there, we can think about the subtasks. So these are the smaller habits that you're going to adopt daily. That could just be 5 to 10 minutes a day. They are going to help you get to the bigger stories and eventually the bigger epic. So maybe these are things like prepping your breakfast the night before, or setting your workout clothes out the night before, or just writing a few paragraphs towards your personal project or something that you want to achieve. And these things sound so simple by themselves because they can literally just take 5 to 10 minutes a day. But it's these small things that really add up, that when you zoom out, that's what gets the stories and therefore the epic complete. So by completing these small subtasks consistently, You are then able to achieve your bigger goal without all of that overwhelm. As software engineers, an important part of our job is refactoring. Refactoring code means cleaning the code up, reducing all the clutter, making it simpler to read and simpler to maintain. And this makes our whole entire system run much better and more efficiently over time. And in life, of course, we can do the same. So maybe that means decluttering your life by literally decluttering, by removing all the clutter around your house, or maybe it's just about getting rid of certain routines that are no longer serving you. Maybe it's about getting rid of certain relationships that are no longer serving you. Maybe you have unnecessary commitments that are not needed anymore. Or maybe it's about cutting down your screen time by deleting certain apps or putting a limit on your phone. And when we remove all of these distractions, we're able to focus more effectively on the things that are actually important. So just like messy code can cause bugs and slow down the programs over time, these extra kind of cluttered things in our lives can do exactly the same for us personally. The cluttered space and cluttered routines and overcommitments and old habits can create a lot of stress and inefficiency in our lives. Refactoring removes all of that clutter and creates space for new things to come in and just for us to clean up all of our habits and our daily routines. And the good thing is, you don't need to refactor everything all at once. So you don't need to refactor every element of your life all at the same time. So in code, we want to avoid refactoring too big of a job all in one go. Because the bigger the refactor, the more risk that comes with it, and it becomes a much more arduous task. So we want to think about doing bit by bit and keeping on top of that so that it doesn't build up. So we can focus on little areas at a time. And again, by improving one small subsection at a time, that eventually leads to the whole program or whole system or everything in your life running a lot more smoothly. Now, this last one is probably my favorite. So in software engineering, we use version control to see what's changed, to keep track of everything, to see who's changed what, when they changed it, and we can always roll back to a previous version if we don't like the most recent commit or the most recent change. And I think we should be approaching our lives in the same way. So if you have goals in different areas, for example, fitness goals or nutrition goals or finance goals or career goals, you need to be tracking your progress. Because just like in code, if you don't have this tracked history of everything, you won't know where things went wrong or what's working or what isn't working for you. And also, often when we think about what we've achieved, we often forget how far we've come. It's really hard to notice the growth and the progress in real time, and it's only when we look back on previous versions of ourselves that we can actually see how far we've come. So if you keep a log of your gym progress, you keep a log of the weights you're lifting or the finances and how much you've saved or the things you've learned at work, then when you zoom out and kind of look back on everything, you'll actually see how much progress you've made. Alternatively, if you haven't seen that progress, it also helps you realize where you kind of need to step up your game, and linking back to the data and the logs from before, we can use that to help figure out where we went wrong and then keep track from there. Version control helps you see that growth objectively. And it reminds you that even though you might not see those changes day to day, it is still happening in the background if you are putting in the work and being consistent. So whether that's through journaling or tracking your gym progress or tracking your finances or whatever you want to track, make sure you're finding your own way to version control your life. And I say this because when you see your own growth, it makes it so much easier to stay motivated and keep pushing for further future goals. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that you got something from it. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll leave my links in the description box below. Don't forget to comment to let me know what videos you'd like to see next, and I'll hopefully see you next time.